SUPERHOT VR is a VR shooter released by the SUPERHOT team in 2017 and based off of the hit non-VR title SUPERHOT. It's a widely recommended staple among the VR community, and you'll often see it referred to as something along the lines of an essential title. And while I do think the game nails certain things, I think other aspects of the game are dumbed down too much compared to the standard SUPERHOT desktop experience, crippling long-term enjoyment of the game. Additionally, I think SUPERHOT VR comes up desperately short of justifying its price tag of 35 Canadian buckaroos. Before we get into the meat of the review, if you enjoy the video at any point and agree with my thoughts on the game, leave a like and a comment down below. And even if you disagree with me, leave a comment telling me why. I love starting a conversation about video games and hearing your feedback, which helps me improve my videos. So without further ado, let's slap on our VR headsets and get right into the review.
Super hot. Super hot. Super hot.
So as with all SUPERHOT games, the main mechanic in this game is that time moves when you move, and in general this translates into a really cool mechanic in VR, with you having to physically hold still or move in order to slow or advance time. The main mode in the game is the story mode, which takes you around 15 levels. Each level is separated into zones that you move through by grabbing a crystal that spawns when you kill all the enemies, kind of like stages within a level. You can't actually move outside your play space, so this is the way that the game moves you around the map. More on that later. If you die in any of these levels, you have to restart from the beginning, and this can be pretty annoying, but each zone only takes between 30 seconds to a few minutes to complete, so unless you fail a lot, you aren't punished too much. The story is pretty damn bare bones, if I'm being honest. It's very abstract, to put it kindly. The basic concept is very similar to the first game, where this weird computer program is kind of controlling you, except you're playing a VR game, so it's a VR game within a VR game, and it's implied that the violent actions you're taking in the game might be happening in the real world. I won't say much more than that. Now, let me just get this out of the way. SUPERHOT is a good VR experience. For a first-time VR player, this is a great game. But now for my hot take. This game has a ton of wasted potential and is in desperate need of a sequel. While the SUPERHOT formula is perfect to adapt to VR, the devs were way too cautious with its implementation. My main problem with the game is its lack of a movement system. Okay, sure, technically you can move in SUPERHOT VR, but you're restricted to walking around your play space. Being able to move is such a common thing in video games, it just feels wrong not to be able to move in a game like this. I get it in something like Space Pirate Trainer, that makes sense, it's going for something like a VR version of Galaga, but when you take the SUPERHOT formula and move it into VR without movement, to me it just feels wrong. It's just ridiculous when you compare the game to the desktop version where if you want to melee an enemy a few meters away, you just matrix dodge bullets on your way over to them and take them out. But in SUPERHOT VR, you just have to sit there in your play zone with your dick in your hands, avoiding enemy bullets by playing an insta-kill mashup of Dance Dance Revolution and waving your hands to advance time until the enemy AI is stupid enough to come close enough to melee. Seriously, the only thing that prevents you from being executed by a firing squad in every level is the fact that the enemies with guns don't just stand 4 meters away and blast at you from outside your play space, instead of running into melee range to be killed. Speaking of play space, don't have a lot of room to play VR in? Then screw you, bud. Want to grab an item that's just a bit too far away? Well, according to SUPERHOT, you can fuck right off unless you plan on breaking through your bedroom wall to get to it. The more you play SUPERHOT VR, the more the dissonance between the action hero spraying down his enemies in bullet time, feeling the game is trying to go for, and how it actually plays becomes apparent. After you die from a practically undodgeable shotgun blast for the 15th time, and the honeymoon phase wears off, you start to realize you aren't Neo from the Matrix, but the guy with the incredibly lame superpower of only slowing down time if he stands in a very specific box outlined on the ground. The lack of any movement at all takes away so much agency from the player, and I personally find it really limiting, like I'm in a cage. I mean, if you think about it, with the way you teleport around the maps when the game decides, this is kind of like a glorified on-rails shooter, which is fine if you like those games, but the SUPERHOT VR port should have been aiming higher, considering how massively popular the original game was. It just feels like one of those VR experiences you might have paid $30 to play for like 10 minutes at the mall back in 2014, rather than a game you want to come back to and repeatedly play at home. And I mean, they're selling this for 35 bucks Canadian on Steam. Maybe this is just the inner contrarian in me, but I feel like if they're going to be charging higher than the launch price in 2021, they could add in a movement system update. At $35, the game lacks a lot of content. The whole story can be finished in about an hour, maybe 2 if you die a lot. You could literally beat this game and experience most of its gameplay before the 2-hour window for a refund on Steam. But what about the endless modes? Well, if you can get over the lack of movement, the endless modes are fun, but the gameplay does get pretty repetitive after a while. I've had this game for about a year and I've only played it for like 6 hours. Compare that to Pavlov, which I've had for a similar amount of time and I've racked over 70 hours in. The mechanics are cool, but they're really simple. Besides the occasional spur-of-the-moment urge months later, you probably won't feel that much desire to play this game after you've sunk a few hours in and seen all it has to offer. There are other modes than the endless modes, but it's just basically replaying the story with modifiers like speedrunning or speedrunning with only one life or only being able to kill enemies with headshots. And those types of things are fine, but they only tend to be worth it if the base gameplay makes you want to play for hours, which isn't the case here. It also doesn't help that the maps are quite small and not too distinctive. All of them are just medium-sized rooms that enemies pour into. Without the player being actually able to move, I guess there isn't much incentive to create cool levels for them to explore. And this is the perfect time to mention that there's no support for Steam Workshop and custom maps, which would honestly make this game an easy 15 out of 10. I kind of think the devs don't want to add this because they're worried that player-created stuff would blow everything they made and could make in the future out of the water, which it definitely would. Honestly, I think the popularity of this game and the fact that everyone recommends it is the reason they're able to keep up that high price tag, just like Beat Saber. Well, except Beat Saber actually deserves to be able to do that. What the devs need to do is take everything from this game, slap in a good movement system, add 10 times the content and workshop support, and release SUPERHOT VR 2. If they did that, they would have an actual instant hit on their hands, well, one that deserves it anyway. So to wrap things up here, despite this being an amazing first VR game to show your friends and family how cool VR is, I don't recommend it unless it's on sale for like half off or you can get it in a bundle. While I ranted a ton about the movement, I'm mainly not recommending it due to the price. If this was $15, I could forgive the non-existent movement system and lack of content. I still wouldn't like it, but it would be easier to stomach. But you can't give me a glorified VR arcade game with such a lack of content, beatable in less than an hour and a half at $35. That is like getting into the price range for AAA VR games. That's more expensive than Pavlov, Into the Radius, Blade and Sorcery, Gorn, even Beat Saber and Boneworks, by a little bit. Games that will give someone hours more entertainment and are still cool as hell for first timers. If you can get this game for around half of the asking price on Steam, go for it. Otherwise, please spend your money supporting other VR games and developers that are trying to do more with the VR medium. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to see more reviews like this one. And stick around until the end cards so that YouTube can recommend some of my other trash videos to you. Stay hydrated, and I'll see you guys on the next one.